Genergy just speaks true to his ambition and drive and love for the game.
There's another thing that actually worries me for Tempo Storm. We've been talking about how they underperform at tournaments a lot. This just adds another one on the list. At some point, you are in a position where you have to actually ask yourself, is it just us?
Yeah.
Do we have to make a change here?
And it will be elimination to North America, not Europe knocking them out by any means or anything like that.
And I sincerely hope that is not their mentality currently, because they're not out of this tournament yet, but it very likely could be, and that's what scares me too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we see a Tassadar ban leading into this draft from Tempo Storm as second pick. That I actually don't know who was first or second pick. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long
considering
day.
Tempo Storm's got the pick now.
Okay.
So
yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks for
right.
the recovery. Okay, so Tempo actually bans the task from first pick. GFE responds with an Uther. I feel like that's pretty textbook. But Abathur is still up. Tempo does value that hero very highly in general, and also on this map, I'd say.
I mean, it is definitely also a good map, a good hero for the map, and vice versa. Tempo Storm, on the other hand, with the ban on Tassa, already signaling that they don't want to run into another double-supported Illidan again, since Illidan will play a role very likely on this map too, since Towers of Doom is just awesome. If you have an Illidan at the top lane, you have a lot of push potential, and you can still join the 4 versus 5 fight whenever it happens, back down to the Zappa camps, for example. So this is absolutely important here, and it's a style that Gale Force has really embraced. But Tempo Storm needs to find an answer, and they think that their life in this tournament is once again relying on Psalm with Genji.
Yeah, I feel like that's their mentality. Psalm's just like, I don't know what to do, guys. I'm just going to pick Genji. Let's see what happens. And that really scares me for the rest of this series. I think GFE has a lot of momentum going into this map, and Towers of Doom is a map historically GFE's been really strong on.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's interesting that with that ban on Uther, you still, if Genji is the first pick and Uther is open, then you are still in a position where you pick Uther against him and you have a tool. But right now, with what we are seeing here, Gale Force is heading straight into an Illidan Abathur, saying, well, you can ban out the Tassadar all day long, we don't really care, we're just going to sub out Tassadar with Abathur. It's a move that we have seen in the past. You adjust your playstyle a little bit and you are playing more towards the macro abilities that Abathur gives you on the map, but especially later on when you look at level 13, level 16 talents, Abathur is turning Illidan into an absolute beast. So the longer this game goes, right now we can already say that Gale Force teamfight ability is just going a skyrocket.
Well, Tempo Storm at least had a very quick response to this. They assumed the Illidan Abathur was going to happen. They instantly moved into the Arthas and the Dahaka. So they have a decent early game here and should be in a decent spot to be aggressive on their engages. So we'll see if they are able to move forward, and I like the confidence of their quick picks to make that possibly work.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the Arthas and Dahaka is a good response to Illidan Abathur. It's just how powerful is Illidan Abathur really is the question I'd like to ask. Even with Arthas Dahaka being a pretty good counter against Abathur and Arthas being a pretty good counter against Illidan respectively, is that enough to overpower that duo on this map in particular, where heavy macro split push play is very prevalent?
I gotta ask you, with the Dahaka, do we see a lot of isolation picks in North America? Because I feel like if isolation can land on the Illidan, or even support helping out the Illidan, that's where they can get their picks.
Honestly, we do see isolation. There's a couple players in North America that pick it and have a slight preference for it more, like Goku in particular is one who does favor the isolation. And when it comes to my personal opinion on what's theoretically optimal, I think isolation, the majority of the time, is the better ultimate. I've had a lot of theorycraft discussions with players like Wubby, and what they have to say makes a lot of sense on the subject.
I mean, I would really love it. The problem is you have to hit it.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be a lockdown first. You have to be 100% able to hit the isolation, or that fight goes down the drain.
Yeah.
Right now, on the other hand, the ban on Li Ming makes perfect sense. What Gale Force is afraid of are constant resets during a fight and the snowball potential through Genji resets and Li Ming resets. So going for that ban makes sense on their part. And they also might, again, head into an Anubarak. And if they do that, then having the Disintegrate on the side of Tempo Storm would just decrease the value of your Cocoon. To me, it's still so funny how that dynamic with Li Ming and Anubarak works. We've been talking about this in previous tournaments, but it's just so insane how Li Ming literally went from you can't pick her against Anubarak against we need to have a Li Ming or something that can destroy the Cocoon. So I would you expect Anubarak again on the side of Gale Force here?
Well, yeah, but I have issues with the Muradin ban from Tempo Storm. made a good point. The Leeming does have very good matchup into Anubarak in the current meta due to the Cocoon. And Gale Force banning the Leeming, from my perspective, says that they want the Anubarak.
Yeah.
And now they're able to save it until last pick because Tempo already has their 2 frontliners. So I really do disagree with the Murden ban. Their thought process had to have been that Murden synergizes with Abathur just to an extreme amount. But at what level does that justify the ban? Because the Leeming ban itself, to me, justifies the Anubarak ban in response. And it didn't come out. So I think it's interesting that they value the Murden ban so highly.
Do you think they could deviate from Anubarak and simply say, okay, depending on the picks, maybe going, I don't know, going to Stitches instead?
Personally, I don't like Stitches with Illidan Abathur at all. I feel like it's a very dysynergistic combination of heroes. But they're...
Oh, in good spirits.
I appreciate that sentiment. I appreciate
really,
that
you
sentiment.
doll.
But to sort of like finish
daddy.
up that last point, I definitely think it is possible that they deviate from the Anubarak, but I don't think it's particularly likely.
The other option that jumps up for me is that Tyrael, if they want to go in for full dive and get aggressive with that Illidan.
I would. I mean, we talked about it. I would very much prefer the Anubarak here.
Yeah.
But you are not wrong.
Tyrael could be good, but the issue is now that they've shown the Brightwing.
Just trying to be nice for once. He's always complaining that I'm not nice, and then I try and he makes fun of me.
I think Tyrael could be a good pick, but it does scare me a bit into potentially Isolation, Drag, Brightwing's Polymorph, as well as Emerald Wind. Those 4 interrupts are very, very devastating when it comes to Sanctification, and if Tyrael does not get Sanctification off, you know, he loses a lot of value as a hero.
All right, so we're expecting the Anubarak carry. Any other warriors that jump out that could be a possibility just for theorcrafting and, of course, teaching our people at home?
In Europe?
ETC?
Yeah,
I was going to say. ETC is the only other option, but I don't particularly like it.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, if you think about ETC of Brightwing against you, there's a lot of tools. But Anubarak, I mean, this draft just screams Anubarak and the bans as well, and they go with it. King Caffeine has that dirty smirk on his face once again, so he's already happy.
I feel like Tempo just wasted their second ban at this point. With Caffeine's response on the camera, he actually just seemed happy to get the Anub at the end of the draft. He seemed a bit surprised. So yeah, that's my biggest criticism from Tempo Storm within this draft. As well as the solo support Brightwing is also a bit suspect for me. I don't know if that's necessarily the pick they could have gone into in an optimal draft, but let's see if they can make it work.
I honestly really dislike a solo support Brightwing. In a double support setup, great, but I of course also know that, I mean, double support Brightwing can be absolutely amazing. You get a lot of utility on top of it. I know that Gilly is just going to crush me once she's on camera with those statements, but Brightwing in a double support is great, but as a solo support, I just don't have the faith.
I think a lot of us involved in the HGs have had similar concerns. I mean, MSB, when it randomly came out from time to time, we were like, solo support Brightwing, it might not work out too well.
The only team where I can really see the solo support Brightwing for me is when Fnatic plays it in a full global comp. And then it's really still mostly about the utility because they never take fights where they don't have to. They just go with the globals and win it around that.
Well, it was mostly around the Emerald Wind of, you know, cooking and then Stitches and then, you know, forcing everyone away from that. So it was based around them completely dictating when the fights were going to happen.
This is the one each moment where I think it works because Illidan diving forward, you get the polymorph, but that is a high-risk play when you have Vala poking you constantly. Tempo Storm, they're high spirits right now. They're looking great. I think I go with them.
I think we're ready to go actually into the game here.
Do you mean GFE?
No,
GFE, that's what I meant. Thank you.
You saved it.
Because I was going to say, Tempo Storm did not look in high spirits.
Yeah, I'm definitely still on the GFE train. From the start to the finish, GFE is going to win this.
You, Glau?
Man, I just want to go to bed. No, I'm just kidding. This is a really exciting series.
He has to say Tempo Storm because he doesn't get any German food at home anymore since he lives with Cattle.
The thing is, like, I'm roommates with Cattle, right? So if I pretend to be overly enthusiastic for GFE, then I might get poison in my food. Who knows?
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm not sure what that means. As we do now go over to game number 4 here, as we have Tempo Storm going up against GFE.
I believe Glorong meant poisson in his food, fish. We had that yesterday. Maybe tomorrow again, we'll see. But thank you for the expert analysis. And I say that not tongue-in-cheek, because I think there were some great points before we got to that final one. But we don't really like solo support Brightwing either. But we're always ready for the players to prove us wrong. Let's see if they're going to be doing so. Gale Force eSports here on the left in the blue. You know them, you love them. It's King Caffeine, it's Mike Odal, it's Akaface, K1 Pro and Fan here in the blue. On the left, Gale Force.
And over in the red, Tempo Storm. We got Fury, Psalm, June, Koth and Luck, and Caterpillar. And they have a tough mountain to climb. They are now down 2 games in this best of 5. They must win the next 2 if they are not to be eliminated here at the Western Clash.
But I think there was some really sweet analysis, really hit the spot. The Nubarak delay, it was all just perfect and foreshadowed as well by Glowering there. And keep in mind this, Genji is one that benefits from which supports? Rhaegar and Uther. Long distance, burst heals, ancestral healing, divine shield, and so on. Brightwing can't really do that well. Is he going to go full trait build and give that 10-second shield at level 7, but then you won't have cleanse? Is it going to be blink heal, but then you're in the front line against Anubarak? I really don't know. Tempo Storm has their work cut out for them, but let's see how it goes, Gilly.
I know that Psalm would love to have Dragonblade, and I'm sure we will probably still see it in the long run, but I almost wonder if for his sake and how they have constructed their composition, we end up seeing some sort of X-Strike just as a way of making sure that he has an escape of his own. Yeah,
I don't think you were speaking madness here. I think, in fact, you were counseling wisdom as X-Strike. X marks the spot. What spot? Crystal Aegis spot. It's easy to follow up on a blow-up target with X-Strike, and it gives him a method of escape as well, without the need to constantly dart in there. But, you know, it's unlikely. We do often see that Dragonblade, and people are used to it by now.
There's a great drag there from Fury. Cattle and Fury putting some damage down on Illidan, but no first blood as of yet. Both teams seeing what they can find, where they can find some of the members of the other teams. Both of the teams generally, at this point, start their sapper camp. Gale Force is slightly slower to that rotation, having dealt with some harassment from Tempo Storm briefly there. So Tempo Storm will get their camp first, setting them up just a little bit faster to maybe even try to invade on top of this camp. And with the lower health bar of King Caffeine, they're going to have to give this up.
Very nicely done. Tempo Storm get the double sapper. That's going to take out some towers here in the bottom lane. That is nice. It will not really have a bearing upon the altar acquisition at this moment, because no crucial talent leads will have been garnered. It's still going to be level 4 versus 4, but a good advantage in structural here. Brightwing ports to the top.
Gale Force is actually invading because they know that the bottom lane was going to be such an issue. Immediately made the rotation up to the top, pushing in and stalling out long enough on the safe altar of Tempo Storm that Abathur was actually able to sneak his slug body in and get their own altar. Now they've found Caterpillar, who is an Arthas. He's not going to get out of this situation. Gale Force takes out Caterpillar for first blood.
Where are the heals, Brightwing? I know you had a heal. Oh, no. She doesn't have a heal yet until level 10, or unless you're near. A nice interrupt by Arthas. It may still lead to something good. Death timers are short. The defensive position here is always easy for the defending team. And they will still be getting their own beacon. So what's it worth, really? You get the Arthas kill. Still a good move there by Cattle, getting the interrupt and getting those 4 core shots.
Tempo Storm stepping back out into the lanes, making sure that Abathur doesn't get too long of free soak. Watching of the globals is crucial for both of the teams. This is, I was joking around with you, the standard that we're seeing develop in North America, especially on Towers of Doom. How many globals can we amass on either side, making sure that if nothing else to keep up with your opponents on either side so that you have the ability to split soak and then come in at the last minute when the fight's actually started.
Yeah, you said that when you saw Genji and Illidan. Oh, classic North American meta. You see it unfolding once again before our eyes here. Illidan becomes a global at level 10. Brightwing, of course, can port every so often. Does have that increase in cooldown reduction from Hyper Shift. He needs to put, Brightwing needs to put the trait heals on heroes around him to get the cooldown reduction for his global. Her global, sorry, Brightwing.
She won't pair this with Phase Shield, still wants to have a cleanse available for the hunt for things like a Nubarak for charging in as well. That'll be necessary to keep members of Tempo Storm alive, especially if Genji is out leading the front in charge, trying to throw out some damage, and finds himself a victim to some of the engage of Gale Force eSports. along in the mid. Vala is down though. Tempo Storm able to find a kill. Now Sam hoping that he can body block Akaface and King Caffeine.
Oh, nice
goes
cleanse.
in. Beautiful pre-cleanse.
Of course, the cleanse will not lead to another kill as Swift Strike was not yet available for Genji. He already used it on the previous kill and didn't get the reset from it. Vala is dead. Coming back now. One altar to be contested here.
Sam's fairly low here, but Akaface has been caught from shift in and Polymorph following behind. How deep does Tempo Storm dive? Looks like all the way in.
Very nice turnaround there. Genji going down. Ariel does as well, but a 1-for-1 is so much better than had he just died. A nice peeling there by King Caffeine. Perfect with the body blocks and the burrow charge.
Unfortunately, the 1-for-1 for Gale Force is the support down. Through all the way from the bush from Caterpillar. King Caffeine burrow charges away and Tempo Storm claims another altar, continuing their advantage in the health of the cores. And it's necessary for them to do so. As Gale Force continues to scale up, Abathur will become more and more of a threat as the respawn timers become longer, when deaths start to happen, and when those longer fights around objectives like the boss or further altars become more of an issue.
Yeah, these comps, we say that they're roughly roughly balanced, but not symmetrically so. Maybe Gale Force's comp is even a little bit ahead of Tempos, like we said, that weak link, Brightwing solo support. But it is asymmetric balance. Illidan and Abathur need their level 10 to be fully fighting operational, and therefore it is not a surprise. You cannot even truly say that Gale Force is behind. Though they are trailing in XP and core shots, they are not actually behind in terms of the expectation of where they would be in the game. Vala now goes down though.
Great synergy from Tempo Storm to get that kill. Dragonblade still going, hoping for an Akaface kill too, but Tempo Storm not able to get that before Akaface got behind the fort. So they'll be content to get a bell tower instead during the time that Vala is down. Again, taking out Vala, such a nice thing to do when there's a Vala Ariel comp, but now Caterpillar going down almost to the K1 Pro clone of King Caffeine's Nubarak.
What? That was so close. Cool copy there on the Nubarak, seeking out Arthas. You know, he was lucky that he had enough mana. Being able to even summon that army of the dead, keeping himself alive. Emerald Wind was available. In addition to getting Emerald Wind, Brightwing also gets an 8% bonus healing on her trait. Nice little extra bonus. And the reason that usually people end up taking Emerald Wind over Blink Heal, as it offers healing in addition to that damage and peel.
It'll also buy some time and give some escape if necessary. A team fight goes wrong for Tempo Storm, but buys time for things like the boss or even around an altar potentially. And there is an altar up right now that the teams are fighting over.
Abba copy is available again, so is Cocoon. Gale Force in full fighting shape. Illidan can pop down anytime he wants to. Dragonblade not yet, neither's Army of the Dead. Gale Force has the threat here over Tempo for another 15 seconds. Are they aware of the cooldowns? If so, they will be happy to fight.
This Cursed Bullet following up, Howling Blast. Hawk is now going to come in. Set up perfectly on the other side of Crystal Aegis, taking out King Caffeine. Brightwing, though, goes down in the midst of Emerald Wind. Michael Udall finding his targets, but so does Fury with a drag.
That was such a long distance drag tongue there. Nice job by Fury getting him down there.
Unfortunately, Brightwing did go down, and the supporting of Tempo Storm, we knew that this would be an issue in these longer fights, and although that initially Tempo Storm took out Michael Udall and that Illidan, Vala was still able to do a lot of damage with Ariel, and they even had the clone on Vala just to make sure that there was a lot of range damage that was available even after the initial kill.
Yeah, the clone on Vala not normally ideal, as you need to build up 10 hatred stacks, and you know, Abba is kind of like a one-day fly with his copies. Don't have that much time to really start building things up. Before you know it, he disappears again. But still, nice extra damage there. It was the best choice under the circumstances. We see a very adaptive play here by K1 Pro with his Abathur.
Rowing's going to come in, but actually Gale Force eSports is focusing on the top sappers too. Gale Force realizing that so much of Tempo Storm was devoted to defending this sapper camp, even though Tempo didn't quite have 13, are happy to just give that up, knowing that they are forcing a lot of the resources of Tempo Storm to be used there. And Gale Force has other plans. They've got Illidan plus the sapper camp up in the top lane, Those are going to move in and take down a big chunk of the fort damage.
And here's the thing, right? Towers of Doom games never end early. They cannot. Physically, they cannot. Yeah, like maybe you get 6 bell towers. Never happens, right? You start shooting ammunition. Udo, he's going to die. It's fine. He hunts, he hunts on a minion next turn. It doesn't really matter. He was going to die anyway. But the point is, you fall behind in the core shots early as Gale Force. Doesn't matter. You're expected to do that. They're making their comeback strokes here. 14v14. They're ahead in a bell tower as well.
This is a problem. Fans slowed down, and that makes it a perfect person to take out and hit with the drag from Fury. K1 Pro cloned, but that'll be quickly dealt with from Tempo Storm. And even though Tempo Storm have only 3 bell towers to the 5 currently of Gale Force eSports, they've done enough damage here in the bottom lane with their constant siege, even taking out a new Barak, that they can get this bell tower and then look toward the altars.
All right, Gilly, I'm not going to keep saying that it doesn't matter how far Gale Force falls behind.
It does come to a point where you lose the game, and then that's when it matters.
That's when it matters. Like, until now, it was okay, but that one hurt. Well done by Tempo. Ariel got isolated away from her team. The least okay support to be alone, and Tempo Storm rode that momentum to victory here, getting double towers, getting a bell tower. That was very well done. 12 core shots ahead.
And it came down to Michael Udom being willing to sacrifice himself for the bell tower, which wasn't the issue, but then after that, Gale Force needed to recognize that they had Illidan down for a little while, hoping to get their sappers in the bottom lane too.
Yeah, and he'll be back. Just don't walk alone out of the gate as Ariel, and you'll rejoin and you'll be fine.
Just a little bit of patience after losing somebody there, and they're going to need a little bit more patience, but not too long. Tempo Storm is currently doubling the core health of Gale Force eSports here on Towers of Doom with a solid level lead to boot, level 16.
Yeah, anytime they find these isolation kills, as they now have done in the 3 conflicts that just passed, solo Illidan, solo Ariel, and then the rest, they will not really be tested in their composition. The lack of targeted heals by Brightwing will never come to fruition.
Michael Udo's trying to protect the mule as long as he can, muling the stolen bell tower. But finally, Psalm's going to come in. Now we've got a double Illidan. Friend or foe just in time to keep him safe. Now June's the one who's in danger.
Did Psalm get baited? June definitely got baited. Psalm and June nearly going down. That was a sweet, sweet move by Gale Force. Illidan this time will not be taken down. The hunt there on Genji to buy a little bit of time. Friend or foe coming to the rescue is Gale Force. They were friend for sure. June goes down. Arthas, can he stay alive? I think so, yes.
A lot of the stuns there went down, but super quickly, and Caterpillar had his Army of the Dead so that he could heal back up. Drag it, follow up to a beautiful Howling Blast from Caterpillar. Put the hump back in. Cawthon Luck taken out. Brightwing, and now Cawthon Luck. 2 staggered deaths from Tempo Storm in the time when Gale Force needs those staggered deaths to start coming back into the game. Exactly.
They were 16 shots down. They now get the chain kills. First it's Brightwing, now it's Greymane. Is this Tempo's turnaround moment, or are they chain dying even more?
Look at what's happening. Illidan takes one of the altars up, so does Abathur, and Gale Force eSports is still winning the fight.
Oh, the epicenter triple stun by a Nubarak. Another set of chain deaths. Cool drag tongue there on the Nubarak, but it's not going to be enough. Wow, Tempo Storm falling apart at the seams here, Gilly, during this triple altar phase.
This is a time when that can happen. When a team knows that they need to turn it up, they get 1 kill, and then a team starts to fall into a staggered death. You continue to play as if you have that lead. And when you look at the core health, you do still have a lead, but you can still feel the game slipping away from you. And as if Tempo needed any more reminder, if they lose this game, they are out of this tournament. Yeah. They have to do whatever it takes to stabilize. They have to, Grubby.
Yeah, the winner goes to the
top 4.
Excuse me, the winner goes to top 4, thank you. And the loser will be 5th and 6th. Winning a little bit more prize money, having a little bit better standing than 7th and 8th, but certainly nowhere near satisfactory for either of these teams.
Regional pride is incredibly important, but so is the opportunity to try your hand once again, one final time, perhaps, against a European team. That is why we have these clashes, so that we can see the regions, the best of regions, go head-to-head in epic battle.
The thing is, Tempo not really behind. You do have that effect where Abathur gets level 20, gets the Hive Mind, you get that 1.5 symbiote action. 2 hats, second one is 50% effectiveness. That's definitely a thing. But, you know, Tempo Storm, they get continuous wins on Brightwing, or maybe the Storm Shield if she elects to do so. A lot of tools here, and the XP is dead even. Go figure, 9 versus 9 in takedowns, 3 bell towers, 20 versus 16. Game is still anyone's.
Here comes the hunt. King Caffeine's there as well.
I mean, the hunt on Arthas, he's still pretty far ahead. That's a bait, though. He has Arm of the Dead. He knows he's going to out-sustain that.
Look at Fury.
Turn around, Aegis.
Akaface in trouble. Howling Blast follows up too. Ariels goes down even as Fan was hoping to strafe. But King Caffeine diving back in on top of multiple members of Tempo Storm.
June just interrupted his own Emerald Wind with Ice Block. No one was going to interrupt him. He ends up paying the price for that. Suddenly, no, this is terrible for Tempo. However, they get a number of kills too.
This is a bloodbath, is what it is. 3 kills on either side, and Illidan and Abathur in one, and then a Greymane and Dahaka in the other, just as
Stay
alters.
together, this is a horror movie. You never ever split up Tempo Storm. Greymane and Dahaka together can fight. But Greymane caps it. Did he? Wait, he self-interrupted?
No, he was coming back over.
He self-interrupted.
He got scared.
Or maybe it was a Toxic Nest. Oh, the maximum drag tongue!
Drag delays yet again.
Udal can't do this.
What do we have up soon?
Oh, the copy! The
Ultimate
copy is
Evolution
back!
in the hunt!
The copy is back. He's gonna stay as Symbiote?
I'd rather stay the hat.
Oh, this is so tenuous. I think he's done it. Michael Udal, together with K1 Pro, have bought enough time to secure their own altar. This was so tense.
What an insane moment between these teams. 3 dead on either side.
Yeah, my word. I mean, you will never play the best game of the tournament in a game 4 or game 5 of a series. Almost never. Concentration is flagging. We are into the next day here in Kiev, Ukraine. It's 10 a.m. 10 a.m.? It's 10 past midnight a.m.
There we go.
10 past midnight a.m. in the morning.
I got so scared.
It's 10 a.m. Yeah.
I guess we'll just keep this ball
Yeah, you know, we're
rolling.
warriors, we're troopers. No, but I mean, think of that. The players got up in the early a.m.s. It's now after midnight. The endurance that they're exhibiting here is admirable. And they're fighting for the tournament life. Still anyone's game.
Level 20 available for both of the teams. Vala with slight change up in their level 16 and 20, getting Manticore and Rancor, having that extra % base damage, and then later on getting extra attack speed. Look at the collapse from Tempo Storm. They're going in. They're going for the throat.
Psalm misses the Swift Strike. Caffeine, Burrow charges away. Crystal Aegis comes out. Shield of Hope should still be available.
But the drag doesn't allow it!
Wow, no Shield of Hope shall be forthcoming. The kill on Ariel. Nice job here by Tempo Storm. No altar available yet, but the boss is. And there we go with the, oh my golly.
Boss 2 altars and an immediate...
What's 4 plus 4 plus 4? That's the spells at the end of the game for Gale Force, potentially. But they know that they need this bell tower. That's a good move by Tempo. Instead of going for the boss, first securing the tower. You do the 5 versus 4 on the double bell tower, then get the boss if you win the fight. And it looks like they might.
Oh,
Polymorph on Vala.
Fan cannot die.
Yeah, he may not.
Illidan's going down to the bottom, but Dahaka has stalked in as well. So there is no immediate pickup from Gale Force to stave this off, to stop Tempo Storm from winning off of this push.
That's one channel. Second one, Illidan getting routed. Anubarak. Illidan actually uses the hunt to get away. If they get away, they still have a chance. They can still stop the Apocalypse at 4 core HP. They've bought enough time for Ariel to come back and to stop the boss from being taken. But Tempo Storm makes all the right moves in all the right places. Double altar with 4 remaining for Gale Force.
Looking at boss control, which Tempo Storm are not at all moving toward yet. Going to get the sappers in the bottom first so that they have that pressure there as they start to move up. Emerald Wind is a huge tool for Tempo Storm.
You know what Gale Force needs to do? K1 Pro needs to copy Ariel. Double Ariel. Protect each other. I think that'll be pretty sweet.
Are you just wanting to see a double Ariel, or are you hoping that this is a strategy they employ?
I think it would actually be good, because Gale Force just needs a little bit more survivability on Ariel. When the drag tongue hits just right by Fury, as he has been doing, he's been playing a phenomenal Dahaka game.
Sure.
If he lands his drag tongue on Ariel, she's dead before she uses Shield of Hope. And that may just offer a little bit of extra survivability here if Abathur copies her.
It's impeccable the way that Tempo Storm are approaching the fights, flanking in, because with the Brightwing, they have to eliminate somebody right away, and being able to find Ariel as the one to eliminate, catching her and bringing her into the fight, it's too hard for Gale Force currently to be able to defend her in the current setup.
Yeah. What's worse than solo support Brightwing? No support Ariel when she's dead.
That's a great point.
A terrible point.
Late night analysis.
Revitalizing Mist, by the way, for Brightwing.
I saw that.
Really cool. You get up to 75% bonus healing on your trait in 3 consecutive ticks. As long as you keep healing the same people, it gets bigger and bigger, that trait heal. Cleanse on Arthas, as well as Icebound Fortitude, the turnaround. We've seen this tactic employed time and time again by Tempo Storm.
This time Shield of Hope did allow a lot of Gale Force to live, but unfortunately not a new Barak. Som gets away with the Dragon Blade, and there's 57 seconds without the main front line of Gale Force eSports. Drag pulls in Ariel, and I heard Fury scream from across the room when he hit that drag.
Fury making the plays here, securing that which was looking likely and now all but certain. They can do it with an altar, but the altar would necessitate the taking of a bell tower. Far easier to take the boss another maximum range.
How does he do it?
All of Fury's practice paying off, grinding the heroes. They said, Tempo Storm, that he's been grinding these new heroes that he's forced to play Dahaka. And there we go, the man of the hour. They do it. Tempo Storm equalize this game 2 versus 2 against Gale Force. And a final map tiebreaker here.
We will move on to a Game 5 elimination game between Tempo Storm and Gale Force eSports. The victor gets another chance to try to take down a European team, and the loser will be out of the tournament. The frustration, the exhaustion